The Florida Panthers remain one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League. Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers joins us to discuss their prospects and what to expect from them at the trade deadline. All that and more coming up on this episode of the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. With me to discuss one of the hottest teams in the NHL, and I think this is a recording because they've been that way all season, Armando Velez of Locked On Florida Panthers. Armando, always great to have you back.
Always great to be back, Gil, and especially talking some Panthers hockey. And it's just been a fun, wild ride since the Florida Panthers came out of the winter break. And I will have to say, winning requires some luck. And two extended breaks that the Florida Panthers have had, which the Christmas break, when they returned from late December, and then the Olympic break, luck has been on the Florida Panthers side due to winning resulting in players healthy coming back.
Timing sometimes is everything, no question about that. But, here's the thing. Aleksander Barkov, big game. 3 straight road wins to close out this road trip. I mean, you guys have been dominant at home. What's been the difference on this last road trip where all of a sudden on the road they're looking pretty dominant too?
It's just been controlling possession, especially 5-on-5. Especially it's the best 5-on-5 team in all the National Hockey League. And in this 3-game road trip, the Panthers have had kind of a rough start coming out of the gate. I actually tweeted out just today on where the shot on goal differential for the Panthers lies in each period in these last 3 games. And first period is -10, second period is +9, and the third period in these 3 games is +24. And I've been saying this as of today, that the third period has been their money period all season long, and it shows in the goal differential, and it shows in the shots on goal differential as well. And Sergei Bobrovsky has been able to relax a little bit in these last 3 games where he hasn't faced as many shots on goal. But when he has been called, he's been able to get some saves. And the thing is, like, the Panthers are doing this mostly on 5-on-5 too, and they're getting the scoring in bunches. Mason Marchment has just been incredible for this team as well. A player who's on the third line with Anton Lundell and Sam Reinhart as well. He's battled a few injuries here and there this season, but that trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs just a few years ago in 2020 has just reaped the benefits of that trade, where he's leading the Florida Panthers in goals per 60 minutes for this team. People might have thought it was Barkov. People might have thought it was Aaron Ekblad or Huberdeau, but it's actually Mason Marchment. In the limited ice time that he gets, he's always finding a way to produce. And that is like my unsung hero for this team. And 16 points in his last 8 games, Mason Marchment. And he's just been incredible.
All right, so let me nitpick here because there's so little to nitpick about. Why the slow starts?
I think it has to do with the coaching, what it has to do in the beginning. And Andrew Burnett said something the other day, just like about learning on the job and having to find a way to implement some line changes on the fly on his own versus what his former boss did. And I mean, his first game was a road win against Detroit, and then he went 2 months with only getting 1 road win in between all of that. And I think it's just a matter of relationships and players having to buy into what the coach is selling. And it just took a little while for Andrew Burnett to get his comfort level. And it's kind of weird for people to hear that who don't watch the Florida Panthers every day to hear that and say, this is the best team in the Eastern Conference, the second best record in the NHL. And they struggled this much out of the gate on the road. It's crazy. And now that the Florida Panthers have had their coach for a little bit, I mean, this Florida Panthers team has started 7-0, and then you implement Andrew Burnett in, and then you see the Florida Panthers record, you subtract it, and then seeing where Andrew Burnett's record is now, incredible. And a lot of fans want the interim tag to be off right now, but it doesn't need to be taken off right now. It's a patient process that the Florida Panthers front office is going to make, and if the Florida Panthers win even one playoff series, it's going to be taken off. And Andrew Burnett has he's been dealt a great hand. Let's not mistake that. Dealt a great hand, and he learned from the teachings of his former boss and now has implemented his own. And now he's not afraid to make line changes earlier into the game, even when his team is not down. We saw that in the game against the Chicago Blackhawks, where 8 seconds within Aleksander Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau being on the same line together, they score within 8 seconds of that. So it's just a product of what Andrew Burnett has done after learning on the job.
Trade deadline is creeping up. It's a few weeks away right now. What, if anything, do you think the Florida Panthers are looking to do by the deadline?
A few weeks ago, some would have thought it would have been Ben Sherratt from the Montreal Canadiens, but a lot of people have been hearing Mark Giordano and Hampus Lindholm as the defenseman of the Panthers' interest. But we've also seen some interest in forwards. That one includes Claude Giroux of the Philadelphia Flyers. I don't know how the salary would work bringing in Claude Giroux in, but there is a little bit of a question mark on the second line right wing right now. I mean, Jonathan Huberdeau and Sam Bennett know how to score, but that is a interchanging piece currently on this lineup that the Florida Panthers are trying to find. And I mean, Claude Giroux can play center, and Claude Giroux can also play on the wing. But also we've seen Patrick Hornquist a little bit playing on that second line center, but Patrick Hornquist it'll be more balance on the lineup if he's playing on the fourth line with youngsters like Eetu Luostarinen and Ryan Lomberg. But bringing in a Claude Giroux for the forward side of things can really make it more balanced so that Patrick Hornquist can stay on that fourth line. I don't know if a trade like that will work, but it's something that the Florida Panthers have been exploring. And also a few days ago, the Florida Panthers have looked into Brandon Hagel of the Chicago Blackhawks, and he is on a very cheap deal, 23 years old with 3 years left. I don't know if the Chicago Blackhawks on the other end would make that trade for a young player, which they need to accumulate more assets for them as they're starting to continue their rebuild. And do they want to give up on a youngster like Brandon Hagel? And I don't think if you're asking who says no in a deal like that, I think it would be Chicago on that end. So I don't think Brandon Hagel is coming to Florida. We could see a situation where if you trade for Giroux, that you would involve a third team there. But I also am a little excited if they do trade for Mark Giordano he won a Norris Trophy just 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, he brings a lot of leadership, and he could be a great piece on that third line, because I don't know how much Lucas Carlson is going to play in the playoffs right now. Marcus Nudivaro hasn't played all season, so they're likely not going to go with a prospect or someone who's been down in the farm in AHL Charlotte. So someone to solidify that third line defensive pairing, I think right now, if I had to guess, Mark Giordano is the guy.
All right, Armando, why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where they could find you on social media and where they could find the podcast?
They can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account at LO_FLA Panthers. And follow along for the ride, because this small market team in a little town called Sunrise, Florida is taking the league by storm. And it's been fun for me to cover, and this is a fun team to watch. They got their first nationally televised game of the season on TNT just recently, and if that was a lot of fans' first time watching this team, I hope that everyone had fun watching it. And of course, come to Locked On Panthers, where we discuss what I see on the daily of this team.
Well, it's a great show, and the team is a lot of fun to watch if you're a hockey fan. That's exciting brand of hockey. Armando, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Gil.